Major projects have been scrapped and delayed in a brutal state budget that's cut funding for tourism and big events and cancelled sick pay for casual workers.
It'll also take longer to roll out mental health facilities and free 4-year-old kinder for all Victorians.
But Jacinta Allen has managed to squeeze in a sweetener for parents who send their kids to government schools. Mark Santomartino begins our coverage.
Jacinta Allen's first budget is Tim Pallas's 10th.
You happy?
Always.
And beneath the headline of helping families was a promise to shave $400 off the cost of sending kids to a government school.
We know Victorian families are doing it tough.
But like parents, the state itself is struggling, and Victoria's new Premier is slashing spending across everything but health and education to cope, cutting almost $300 million from the state's tourism and major events budget and axing her predecessor's nation-leading sick pay guarantee for casual workers.
This is a budget focused on fiscal discipline. It considers our two big problems: high inflation and workforce shortages.
Several of Daniel Andrews' other big promises fell flat in this budget. Staff shortages have delayed the full rollout of free 4-year-old kinder from 2032 to 2036. Mental health facilities have also been delayed indefinitely, and the flagship new hospital above Arden train station has been scrapped entirely. And yet, none of these measures can fully rein in state debt, topping a record high $187 billion by 2028.
We will be spending more on interest than we spend on families. It's money that's simply being wasted.
By 2028, the Treasurer will be collecting $45 billion in tax per year. Land tax and stamp duty will account for almost half of that. From July, the cost of your fire service levy will increase, and starting next year, so will the price of dumping rubbish at the tip.
Upper gallery.
Protesters interrupted the Treasurer's speech and prompted this fiery response from Liberal MP David Southwick.
We can't have the Parliament being turned into this kind of violent circus.
The opposition wants an investigation, but would rather every Victorian stay focused on today's budget. Jacinta Allen's first attempt is a massive and arguably much-needed departure from what we've become used to under Daniel Andrews. But both she and the Treasurer know, when it comes to reining in state spending, one tough budget is just a start.
And it lays the path to a bright and prosperous future. I commend the bill to the House.
Mark Santomartino, 9 News.
Well, tax hikes, spending cuts and major delays to flagship projects have been revealed in the Victorian budget in an effort to rein in spiralling debt.
The government will slash funding for tourism and major events and cancel sick pay for casual workers.
It's going to take longer to roll out mental health facilities and free 4-year-old kinder for all Victorians.
But to soften the blow, a promise to shave $400 off the cost of sending children to a government school.
So this is a budget that is short on new commitments. The focus instead on what is missing.
The government is ditching plans to put a mammoth medical precinct in North Melbourne and has failed to find the money for several new community hospitals. Heidi Murphy with more.
As election promises go, they don't get much bigger.
This is the biggest hospital project in our nation's history.
A huge multi-billion-dollar hospital precinct above the new Arden station suddenly axed when the government discovered it's not feasible.
The electromagnetic interference is a very substantial problem and could not be overcome in any financially responsible way.
Any fix would take several years and cost hundreds of millions of dollars more.
What does this say about their works on other projects?
Instead, the Royal Melbourne and the Royal Women's will be upgraded where they are.
We think it represents a better investment for patients.
For other much smaller community hospitals, uncertainty from the budget. Of the 10 promised, only 7 have the go-ahead. Better news, 4 hospitals, $8.8 billion over 5 years in guaranteed funding. The Education Union's disappointed TAFE isn't getting the same.
There is barely enough funding in this state budget to allow TAFE to tread water.
There's also little further detail on the State Electricity Commission, the Airbnb levy, a long-awaited new 000 computer system, or where the extra $20 billion for suburban rail loop will come from, while airport rail's been slapped with a 4-year pause as the fight over the station rolls on.
Quite frankly, we're not paying for undergrounding.
We have lobbied for that station to be underground, and it can't wait another 4 years.
One project that is just about ready to go, the Metro Tunnel, to open next year. But the cost of preparing for that is adding up. Timetabling, driver training, even signs like this, now getting up to $500 million and counting. The budget's had a rare tick from business, delighted there's no big new burdens on them.
It gives business a chance to reset with the state government.
Heidi Murphy, 9 News.
And the Premier, Jacinta Allen, joins us now. The bell's ringing right on cue. Premier, thanks for your time. You've called this a budget for families, but you've delayed early education improvements, delayed indefinitely mental health and wellbeing programs. That's not helping families.
Alicia, this is a budget that is firmly focused on supporting families. Our $400 school saving bonus going towards helping families with those costs of sending kids to school, with the purchase of uniforms, helping out with funding of school camps, excursions, sporting programs, is a real practical way that we can support families right now, and also comes on top of other cost of living support that we provide to Victorians right across the state.
That doesn't really compare though, does it, when you think about $400 going into the school's coffers as opposed to free kindergarten for 4-year-olds?
Well, this $400 school saving bonus will make a meaningful difference for families with some of those costs of getting kids ready for school. And also too, it comes on top of, and we're continuing to deliver our free kinder, which saves families up to $2,500 for every child that they enrol in kinder here in Victoria.
Premier, in 2019, Victoria's state debt was $25 billion. It's now $115 billion, and by 2028, it's going to be a debilitating $187 billion. Do you feel any sense of guilt for the future generations who are going to be paying this off for decades to come?
Well, of course, Tom, as you and your viewers would be absolutely well aware, during that period of time, we worked through together the global pandemic, and during that period
I understand
of
that,
time,
Premier, but just to jump in there,
we used the strength of our balance sheet in order to provide support to Victorian families
that, but COVID's not going to be an
and
issue.
This is not something that we can.
For the next 4 years,
Tom,
debt goes up another $70 billion.
And we use the strength of our balance sheet during that period of time. And what we have recognised in this budget is that we have made a range of sensible and disciplined decisions. We have in place a new fiscal strategy that responds to the changed circumstances, but also too continues that firm focus on supporting Victorian families, on delivering services, ensuring that there's a pipeline of work ahead, and most importantly, continues to grow the economy as we support the Victorian community.
Premier, the airport rail line, it's become a bit of a joke, hasn't it?
Look, there has been an incredibly frustrating period. For a number of years, there were negotiations underway with the operators of the airport to deliver the rail line to their front door, and I made that clear a year or more ago that these negotiations were frustrating.
Well, why not
and as
compromise?
a result,
why
the
not
project
compromise
has
just to
been
get it
delayed.
done?
Well, Alicia, the airport itself, they're not putting a cent towards this project, and their proposals is to add time and cost to the project. And in terms of the going forward, the Commonwealth Government, who own the land on which the airport is located, have appointed an independent mediator to work through the challenges with the airport demanding more time and money to a project they're not contributing one single cent to.
All right, Premier, a difficult job at a very difficult time. We appreciate you speaking with us this evening. We're going to head now to the man who wants your job, the opposition leader, John Pizzuto. Good evening to you. What would you be doing differently in government? And by that, bluntly, where would you cut spending if you won office?
Well, we need to start reforming the way we manage major projects, Tom and Alicia, because they are blowing out by tens of billions of dollars, and that's why in this 10th Labor budget, you're seeing a very sorry saga of broken promises, cuts to services. We're seeing major projects canned or put on the never, and if the Premier, Jacinta Allen, thinks that $400 being given to schools is cost of living relief, then I have to say the Allen Labor government is more out of touch than I could ever have imagined. We need better leadership in this state, one that's going to get major projects under control, will get our tax rates down and give people the opportunity, the best opportunity they'll ever have to buy a home or to access the services they need. But whether it's hospitals, whether it's schools, whether it's the government's childcare plan, they're all being cut back.
Okay,
and we're seeing
John
broken
Pizzuto,
promises right across the budget.
What did the government get right then today?
I'm still looking. Give me some time.
But they have cut.
There are some things.
They have cut a lot of programs. So are you saying you disagree with those cuts? Because the budget means we need to cut those programs, doesn't it?
Well, I think the truth is it didn't have to come to this. The government is committed, for example. Well, yeah, I understand that, Alicia, but let's bear in mind the government is proceeding with a $200 to $300 billion project, the Suburban Rail Tunnel, which has no proper costings other than what we've been able to put together through the Parliamentary Budget Office. And yet, it's proceeding with that, a project no one asked for, hundreds of billions of dollars, and yet health services, education services, childcare services, road maintenance, they're all suffering to make way for that project. And what I'm offering our viewers and Victorians is a statewide vision for our whole state, not tunnel vision.
So you're telling us what a bad job this government is doing, yet the polls tell us people aren't convinced by what you're saying. Why can't you move the needle at all if they're doing such a bad job?
Well, we are moving them over time, and I think the trend across a range of polls is positive for us. The latest polls show us taking over the government on primary, but they're just a snapshot in time. Tom and Alicia, we've got work to do as an opposition, but we've put a number of plans out there to turn our finances around, because ultimately, if you get it wrong, as this Labor government continues to do, it's Victorians, our viewers, who pay the price through cuts to services. And we're seeing that today. And what today's 10th Labor budget shows is that those who've caused the problems can't be relied upon or trusted to fix the problem.
OK, we're going to have to leave it there. Opposition Leader John Pizzuto, thank you for your time tonight.